We're just gonna read. We're gonna read today. A letter to my senator. Number 1. Term limits for the Supreme Court. I would just like to reiterate how strongly I feel about the fact that the Supreme Court, being a position that is not appointed by the people, should truly be a 10-year term limit. This would give the court the chance to represent the people of the United States better as our values evolve. I understand that there is a concept of Supreme Court rulings being based on founders' intent, but for one, I think we should all understand, as others have said before me, that there is no way for anyone today to actually know what the founders were meaning and intending. This is just their interpretation of the Constitution, but they are distancing themselves from any blame from their choices. And 2, again, quoting things that have been said by others before me, why are we so concerned with how people that never knew the internet, airplanes, or even plumbing would view our society? Why is there supposed to be some sort of prestige in refusing to evolve? Why don't we want to leave this world better than we found it? Number 2, consequences for the bias and lies of Daniel Cameron. I am very uncomfortable with the fact that Daniel Cameron has faced no consequences for his behavior around the Breonna Taylor case. How is it at all legal for a federal prosecutor to lie to the people about the charges he was bringing against someone in a grand jury trial? How are the American people supposed to trust the security of these trials that happen behind closed doors if we now know that a prosecutor can betray their post in this way? Jurors had to request that the information be released in order for us to know the truth, an unprecedented event, but even though that information has become available, there are still no consequences. Daniel Cameron went into that case with prejudice, and he decided guilt. He decided what these people were guilty of and how guilty they were, refusing to let the jury make that decision for themselves. And he knew what he was doing was wrong because he lied about it. A fatal flaw has been discovered in our judicial system, and there has to be a way to fix it and hold accountable those that abused it. Number 3, consequences for those that were kidnapping Black Lives Matter protesters. There are a lot of people that are watching the roundup of the insurrectionists from the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And I agree that that is a major issue that needs to be handled. But I have not forgotten about the soldiers that were going through Black Lives Matter protests in unmarked cars and kidnapping people. I understand that right now we have a president that would never do such a thing. But there still needs to be accountability put on the soldiers that participated. Sure, they may have just been following orders, in which case there also needs to be charges for the chain of command this order went down, because they were all people that could and should have stopped this, but that is not an excuse for these crimes. So what we have in this case is we either have a chain of command that agreed and thought that these were appropriate and just, which is deserving of consequences, or we have a chain of command that instilled the fear of execution should someone disobey these orders, which is not only deserving of consequences, but it is also deserving of a complete overhaul of our military as it stands. Pick one, either needs to be dealt with. Voting restrictions. I know that we are likely to see lawsuits come up as these voting restriction laws come into action, but we should really question how so much of the country is able to disenfranchise voters nationwide based on claims that have no evidence. It should also be considered how these actions, how these laws that are going into effect and that are being pushed around the nation also embolden and support those that either acted with or supported the insurrection, because the forcefulness with which lawmakers are attacking the unfounded claims of fraud in the election through legal means acts in support of the beliefs that the extremists based their attack on. Finally, fining restaurants for food waste. We've all seen the photos of trash cans behind bakeries full of perfectly good food, and it is frankly a disgusting waste. I wanted to throw this idea out that could potentially help with food waste along with several other issues. What if we fined restaurants for food waste, encouraging food that is not used for service and have that be given to employees, sold at a lower price outside of the normal sales portals? This is a technique that the Czech Republic uses. There are several apps where businesses can sell unused food and have that available for pickup through third-party apps, or the food could be donated to homeless and low-income families. This would help reduce waste. It would also be a source of tax revenue. and it would help the homeless and low-income populations that are struggling. I would also like to emphasize the fact that we should encourage restaurants to give food to their employees. I have worked in multiple restaurants, and so many do not give their employees a meal for their shift. They prefer to use it as a prize to encourage people to do work that they should be getting paid for. For example, blatantly working off the clock, training or doing other duties of someone that would get paid a higher rate, or doing the work of multiple people so management can save on labor. Since so many places won't give staff a fresh free meal for their shift, the least we could do is ask them to give out the scraps. Then we can make use of whatever's left. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and check out some of my other videos in this series, in my Letter to My Senator series. You want to support me? There are many ways you can do it. I write books. This is the Queen of Thieves series, book number 2 right here. You can find it available on Amazon.com along with my other books. I also do have a Patreon there. You can support me for as little as $2 a month, and I am moving more than across the country. I'm moving from Hawaii to Chicago, so every penny counts. If you want to help me out that way, I would very much appreciate it. But until next time, valedictions, friends.